Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. It's news that's nightly about the Redskins. Welcome to the Redskins Nightly News. I, of course, am your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, the Redskins win their second game of the season in 11 tries as they get it done 19-16 over the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to lie to you, I was torn about the victory. If you watched Chase Young over the weekend, and it's not like you didn't already know the guy had double-digit sacks already, and he had missed 2 games due to suspension, or was it 1 game? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The guy is dominant. Like, I want him so bad. I want Chase Young to be a Washington Redskin. I don't know this to be a fact. I can't confirm nor deny this. But he grew up in this particular area, so he probably is a Redskins fan. If I had to guess, again, I can't confirm nor deny that. I do know that he grew up in the Maryland area, in the DMV area, and so I'd like to think that he's a Redskins fan. Wouldn't that be awesome to have him come home? Damn, that would be great. But at the same time, I do want the young guys to taste winning and what that feels like. So I'm torn. I feel like regardless of whatever happens, and I think this is me trying to convince myself that it's okay to win even though I know better. I think we're going to get a good football player wherever we draft, whether that's second overall, which is what I would prefer. And you know what would just make it a lot easier? Why don't the other teams just win some damn games? How about that? How about the Falcons win 2 more games? How about the Dolphins win a couple more games? You know, at this point, the Dolphins and the Jets both play the Cincinnati Bengals. Go ahead and win that game. Both of you. Let them go 0-16. They're going to start Andy Dalton now, so they're trying their hardest to avoid 0-16 now. They're going to beat somebody. Now that Andy's being reinserted. So look, we're not out of this thing yet. Andy Dalton's getting back into the lineup, which means Zach Taylor's trying to avoid infamy because you go 0-16, you might be one and done. I talked about that on my podcast. So he's trying to avoid that. So Andy Dalton is being reinserted into the starting lineup. So we're not out of the number 1 overall race, but I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals winning 2 games. Do you? So at the end of the day, I'm torn, but at the same time, I think we're going to get a good football player wherever we draft. I'd prefer that guy to be Chase Young, though. Anyway, I digress. Let me first correct an omission that I had on my Thursday edition of the Redskins Nightly News, where I asked you guys a question, and I love the responses, and I appreciate every single one of them, and I combed through them, and it didn't take me very long to figure out that I made a big boo-boo, okay? Someone was like, dude, did you just leave Matt Ioannidis out because you know that that's a given or what? Like, what are you doing right now? Then somebody else was like, hey, look, man, I don't know what you got going on, but Ioannidis is definitely an untouchable. You guys are right. I just had a brain fart. Literally, I made a quick list before I jumped on, and I don't know how I mentioned all of the defensive line, including Tim Settle, but somehow managed to forget the most productive of them all, Matt Ioannidis. So I went back and I pinned a comment at the top of that video pretty much saying, look, yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. Matt Ioannidis is definitely an untouchable. To add him to the list of 7 guys that I had previously, so it would have been 8 defensive untouchables. We'll go with the offensive side of things a little bit later on when there's nothing to talk about and we need a topic. I'll recycle that and go to the offensive side. And maybe by then when we get to that point, we'll have clarity as to who we think belongs on the offense and who we would like to see moved on from, potentially. So I think time will be good for the offensive side because I think there are some guys that may be on the bubble, you know, that you may feel a certain way about now. And as they play more, maybe you feel like, nah, I think this guy has to stay. So anyway, let's talk about the game, though. 19-16 victory for the Redskins. It was not pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. I was so happy for the players. I told you that yesterday when it first happened. But there's so many things. And I went back and I watched because it was actually a fun watch in the fourth quarter. The first 3 quarters of that game was excruciating to watch, especially after the Redskins jumped out to the 13-3 lead. After that lead, it seemed like the Redskins were perfectly fine winning this game 13-12. Okay, if Detroit would have kicked 4 field goals, I think Callahan and company were perfectly fine winning this game 13-12. But unfortunately, that's not how this thing works. That's not how the league works. Teams score touchdowns. Okay, we're one of the few that doesn't know what the end zone looks like on a weekly basis, but most teams in this league actually touch pay dirt on a weekly basis. So it was going to be pretty tough to keep the Lions out of the end zone. They only scored one touchdown, but that one made it so that you couldn't win the game 13-12. So 4 yards after the midpoint of the second quarter, from the midpoint of the second quarter, when we took a 13-3 lead, all the way to the start of the fourth quarter, the Redskins had 4 yards of offense on 12 plays. That is asinine. The Lions racked up over 200 yards in that same span of time. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. I talked about that yesterday. I don't want to rehash that. I don't want to harp on that. So what I really do want to talk about are a few things. I said yesterday during the video we were going to talk about the play calling by KOC, and I never got to it. So we're going to touch on that today. Also, we all know about some of the things that transpired after the game, including the Dwayne Haskins selfie. That took on a life of its own. I'll touch on that. Also, I was so turned off by Dwayne Haskins' press conference. I should have played it for you guys, but I honestly didn't want to hear it again. It really gave me Robert Griffin III vibes, and it sat with me the wrong way. I don't like hearing that from him. Okay, so I'll go over that as well for those of you who haven't heard it. It's probably not that bad to you. I just heard some things in there that I just don't want to hear. Not from my starting quarterback. Okay, and then we'll also touch on just some plays, some players, some things, some takeaways from the game, and then we'll move on to in other news. So let's deep dive into this 19-16 victory, and let's start with Dwayne Haskins. And before the game was over, Dwayne ended up getting excited. I'm not mad at him. I mean, you saw the embrace with him and KOC after the game. Did you see the embrace with him and Morgan Moses? There was a lot of emotion there. Like, we all knew that Dwayne Haskins cared. Okay, we saw it after every loss. We saw it after every performance where he didn't play well, how much it wore on him. Okay, so we knew he cared. He wants to win. He talks about winning all the time. I told you that's one of the qualities I love about Dwayne Haskins is that he's a competitor. He wants to win. I want guys that want to win. So that's one of the things I've said time and time again. Love that about Dwayne Haskins. He gives a damn. Okay, there are a lot of players that just show up to collect a check. We've seen guys like that here, like Josh Doxson. Guys that are cool, whether you win or lose, as long as I'm getting my check. Because I like football, I don't necessarily love football. I like winning, I don't necessarily love winning. We win, cool, we don't, that's fine too. I don't want those guys on my team. I don't know about you, I don't want those guys on my team. So I knew he cared. You saw it. You saw the emotion pouring out as he realized the Redskins were going to win this football game. What he didn't stick around for, though, was to actually make sure that the Redskins had won the game. And so it's a mistake. You don't want it to happen, but it happened. Honestly, I could give two shits about this. This is the thing that I would care about. If it happened again, then we'd have a problem on our hands. It happened once. He was reprimanded, and Callahan spoke to that, and we'll talk about that when we get in other news. But, you know, look, it's a really, really foolish thing that happened. He was excited. He got caught in the moment. And you got to keep this in mind. It was his first career NFL win, and it all was rolled up into one. First career win, first come from behind win, first win, game-winning drive. All of that wrapped into one. All right, it was dramatic. He got caught up in the moment, and he didn't expect, to his credit, he didn't expect a interception. You know, and this is the thing. I'm going to get to this a little bit later on too. The clock management was horrid. And I meant to bring that up yesterday, but I kind of got caught up in the win itself and everything else that was swirling around with it and all of the things that happened in the course of the game that I forgot to mention. Remember, I was bitching about the time management last week versus the Jets. In the second quarter, right before halftime, when they let 5 seconds bleed off the clock after a catch that you're trying to get points on that possession. You know, when the catch was made at like 17, 18 seconds, and they didn't call timeout till 13 seconds. I bitched about 4 seconds. So you know I had a big deal with the Redskins burning their final timeout with 20 seconds left on the clock. Like, what are you doing? And then even after that, okay, so you made a boo-boo. Everyone got caught up in the excitement. When you're 1-9 and you're not used to winning and you feel like we're on the cusp of getting one Everyone gets excited. I get it, okay? You got a bunch of rookies and young guys on the football field, but the coaches are supposed to know better. All right, so you made a mistake. You called the timeout. Okay, fine, whatever. All right, guess what? Don't double down on your boo-boo. Don't double down on your mistake. And this is the problem I have, is that even after you called that timeout with 20 seconds left, you had plenty of time to run a snap. And this is where you could tell they didn't trust themselves. They thought that they're going to F this operation up. We got young guys out there, and, Dwayne might get everybody lined up, but somebody's moving. He spikes it, 10-second runoff, and we go to overtime. He did not trust them to operationally perform a 15-second play in which you run the football, maybe set up wherever Dustin Hopkins wants it. You ask D-Hop, hey, where you want it? If he says right down the middle, you have Dwayne quarterback sneak it or shuffle over, take a knee, and then you reset everybody, and then you spike the ball. It's not like you're running an actual play, all right? So no one has to come all the way back from 30 yards down the field. You literally run a play, all right? You set up, make sure everyone's set. You got plenty of time, all right? And then you spike it with about 4 seconds left. And then you trot D-Hop onto the field, and it's a walk-off situation. What would have happened had he missed? They would have had 16 seconds and 2 timeouts to go and beat us. That would have been a hell of a way to lose that game. But luckily enough for us, none of that transpired, and it's just one of those situations that you say, hey, look, Bill, did you have a chance to analyze the time management? And we'll get to that in other news. But back to Dwayne Haskins. The selfie thing, a lot of people are going to make a lot of things out of that. I honestly could care less. It was immature. He's an immature guy. I already talked about that before. He's young, and in today's generation with social media and all of those, these types of things, they happen, okay? I haven't seen it happen with another team, and it just so happened to happen to our team because everything seems to happen to our team, but it happened. Guess what? I don't care. As long as he doesn't do it again, and trust me, when you make a mistake like this, don't think that he didn't feel bad about this. That was his first career win, and he didn't get to take the victory formation for it. And at some level, that has to suck. At the end of the day, he's going to learn from this. It won't happen again. Let's just move on. Okay, that's how I feel about the whole selfie situation. All right, but let's talk about things of greater importance. And we'll get back to Dwayne and his play. And we've talked about it already on the R3, but I'm going to rehash some of those things. But let's get to the play calling. I don't want to forget this because I didn't talk about it on the R3, and I said I was going to, and I didn't. So I want to tackle that right now. So the play calling for me in the game, I thought was actually good overall. There were some things that I didn't like. I told you guys on the halftime show yesterday, I didn't love the first possession of the game. Steven Sims comes out, bust off a 37-yard return after catching it at about the 7. So we started damn near at midfield. All right. It's excellent field position to start the game off. I'm like, this is great. We should get something out of this. And we run it on first down for 1 yard. We run it on second down for 1 yard. And now it's 3rd and 8, which is what we don't want to put Dwayne in. Like, you didn't even let the man get lathered up. You didn't get him an easy completion to get him in the rhythm of the game. You just put him in a 3rd and 8 and say, all right, go convert for us, big boy. I don't like that. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Deshaun Watson. Don't ask him to be in his 3rd career NFL start. Okay? Get him warmed up. Get him some easy tosses to get him into the rhythm of the game. That's why I'm fine with you running it on first down. Preferably with that kind of field position, and they script the first 15 plays. They didn't account for Steven Sims breaking off a big return and giving us great field position. But you know what I would have liked to have seen? The first snap from damn near midfield. Play action fake shot to Terry McLaurin right out the gate. Hell, that's the time of the game. Well, that's the portion of the field you like to take those type of shots at. That's what I would have liked to have seen first snap of the game. But okay, fine, whatever. You want to run it? First play of the game? I have no problems with that. You get 1 yard? You know what I'd like to see after that? A screen. You know what I'd like to see after second or 1 yard gain on 1st and 10 that makes it 2nd and 9? A screen. And I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter, a Redskins fan on Twitter. He said, man, I don't recall seeing any screens. And I'm like, well, we did run 2 screens in the game. But I was like, you're right. We haven't run enough. Let me reiterate something to you guys, because I made it my mission over the weekend because I felt like we haven't done a good enough job. KOC is included in this discussion. We, as a staff, they haven't done a good enough job of getting him acclimated to the game, getting him comfortable, getting him some completions, and allowing him to. And Terry McLaurin continues to make this analogy with Dwayne Haskins to an NBA shooter that when he gets incredibly hot, he can get in a zone and it's hard to stop him. You know what would make it easier for him to get into that zone that Terry McLaurin keeps talking about? Completions. Same thing with a shooter. If he sees it go in the basket a couple of times, now he's like, I'm hot. Now he starts shooting it from everywhere and he's hitting them, and now the confidence is growing. How about you see him complete a couple of passes that actually get caught by his receivers, that gets him into a rhythm, and now you start unleashing him. Just a concept. So I watched some guys that I respect. You know how I feel about Kyle Shanahan. You know how I feel about some of these other guys that have been in this Redskins organization, like a Sean McVay, all right, for instance. These are all guys that I watched over the last week and a half, kind of seeing some of the things that they do to make their quarterbacks comfortable, okay? Jared Goff is having a rough season, but you know what Sean McVay always does to calm him down? It's nothing for Sean McVay to run 7 to 10 screen passes in a game. In a game. I counted the amount of screen passes that the 49ers threw this past week versus, not this Green Bay game, the one versus Arizona, okay? They threw 14 screen passes, whether it was to receivers or the back or to the fullback. Kyle Juszczyk caught 4 screen passes. He's their fullback. Their running backs caught an additional 5 screens, and they threw 5 more to the receivers in that game. 14 screen passes. Okay? That's with Jimmy Garoppolo. All right, and I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo's all world, but he's had 20 starts under his belt. They still want to make sure he's comfortable. Yet Dwayne isn't getting these opportunities. I don't understand. So first down and 10, you run it, you get 1. Second down and 9, you're going to run it again and get 1 again? And I know the goal wasn't to get another yard, but shit, you ran it on first down, you got a yard. How about trying to get Dwayne an easy completion on second down? Something that's guaranteed. A quick bubble to McLaurin or Steven Sims and let him get 4 or 5, and now you're in third and manageable. 3rd and 8? You think that's an ideal situation for the first throw for Dwayne? And I'm not trying to coddle this man or anything of the sort. But damn it, man. Got to be better. But outside of that, and the lack of screens, I actually thought this was a really good game. And Kevin O'Connell called the last game as well, okay, versus the Jets. So if you didn't like that game, that was Kevin O'Connell. You can tell when it's Kevin, all right? They're throwing the football now. So you can tell when it's Kevin. Last game against the Jets was Kevin. This game against the Lions was Kevin as well. So we're seeing more and more of Kevin's influence on the offense. And Kevin should know better. If you're from the Shanahan tree, all right, the McVay tree, guys that run screens believe in screen passes, especially in long situations. 2nd and 10, 1st and 10. It's nothing for them to throw a screen. They're not necessarily looking for 17. It's great if we get it. But they're looking for 8 yards. They're looking for 5 yards, something to get them into a manageable situation. It's an extension of the run game. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So I expect KOC to be a little bit better in using the screen game to get Dwayne comfortable. But outside of that, I love the shots that they took. I thought they took advantage of the man-to-man looks that they got from the Lions. There were a lot of opportunities. There were a couple of zone opportunities. I thought the Lions might have even busted coverage a couple of times down the sideline. Could have been zone. You know, could have easily been cover 2. I thought I saw the corner kind of sagging like he was trying to be nosy and jump an outbreaking route, and he was supposed to stay with McLaurin up the sidelines. Either way, Kelvin Harmon got loose on the sidelines but wasn't able to get his feet down in bounds. Dwayne, let's get back to Dwayne, though. Dwayne, I thought, struggled on the day with 2 things. He struggled with accuracy, which we already noted. I don't want to continue to beat him up and harp on it because I said what I said already, but he was not accurate. Terry McLaurin should have had 150 and 2 touchdowns in this game. All right, he had 5 for 72. It should have been more like 7 or 8 for a ball 50 and 2 touches, okay? But Dwayne wasn't accurate with the football. But Harmon had an opportunity down the sidelines. Dwayne did a poor job of also anticipating. That was the other thing he struggled with in this game. And I actually was impressed with his anticipation in the Bills game. You know what I mean? And even to a degree versus the Jets. I thought he anticipated well. It wasn't the most accurate throws sometimes in that Jets game, but he anticipated. He did not anticipate well. He looked like a college quarterback because college quarterbacks struggle with anticipation a lot of times. They want to see guys come wide open before they let it go. And in college, you can do that because there's usually a talent disparity. If you play at Ohio State or you play at Oklahoma, or you play at Alabama, you play at LSU or Clemson, you're usually 10 times better than your opposition. On most weekends, you're going to be 10 times better in terms of talent. So there's a disparity. So your guy is going to win, and not only is he going to win, he's going to destroy that corner, who is a 2-star recruit, because that guy's a 5-star recruit. So he's going to destroy that guy, and there's going to be 3 to 5 yards of separation. Easy for the quarterback to see, and then throw it to him. That's not how it works in the NFL. You've got to throw guys open, and if a guy's supposed to run 12 back to 10, you just anticipate he's going to do his job, and you cut it loose. And Dwayne struggled with that in this game. That's why he threw a pick on an out-breaking route, because he didn't let it go when he was supposed to. Plus, it was to the inside, so that was a combination of lack of accuracy and timing and rhythm, all right, and anticipation. But he struggled with that throughout the course of the game. You know what I mean? There were some opportunities for him to just let balls go sooner, and then you wouldn't have had to have as much touch, because that's something that I truly believe he lacks. I've told you that before. So a lot of misses for Dwayne in this game. I've talked about them, already, so I don't really need to rehash them. But that's got to be better. Plain out and simple. If not, and I said this yesterday, if not for the final 2 drives of the game, this is an F performance by Dwayne. But the final 2 drives, and I still docked him a couple points on those final 2 drives, because the drive that resulted in the game time field goal, that should have been a touchdown to Terry McLaurin in the end zone. I need it. I need that to be a touchdown. That would have made me feel so much better about his day if he hits McLaurin there for that touchdown. But he missed. Okay. Then on the game-winning drive, that pass to McLaurin, it was high. You can say what you want. Look, he made the pass. McLaurin made the catch. That easily could have skipped off of McLaurin's hands. And we would have all been talking about shoulda, woulda, coulda. And now instead of D-Hop kicking a 42-yard field goal, that's a 55-yard field goal. Well, they were at the 38-yard line. So that would have been a 56-yard field goal. Okay? So we're talking about that was D-Hop's career high. So you're asking him to bust down a game-winning field goal from 56 to tie his career high on a day where the wind was swirling. Good luck with that. And then if you miss, the Lions, because how we botched the clock, the Lions would have had plenty of time and 2 timeouts, and they wouldn't have had that far to go. You kicking a 56-yarder, they didn't have far to go. So that could have been catastrophic. But to his credit, Terry McLaurin climbed the ladder, went and got it, and all is well. But that wasn't an accurate football either. So I need Dwayne to be better. And the excuse making at the podium, and I'm going to get to that here in a second, I'm not here for that shit. That I don't want to hear. Again, that was reminiscent of Robert Griffin III. I don't want to go through that again. All right. If you tell me that that's what you're going to be like moving forward, tell me now so I can go ahead and start making preparations to go and get a quarterback in the 2020 draft, if that's how you want to operate. That I can't stand for. All right. Now, I'm not going to be that hard on him. All right? I'm not going to kill him. All right. But he's got to be better. And I told you, he can be very dismissive at these press conferences. And I think he thought because they had won, he was just going to show up at the presser. It was going to be all candy, cream, and ice cream, and everything was going to be so great. And he thought he was going to show up, and everybody was going to be lauding and praising him, falling at his feet, talking about how great of a game it was and how great he was down the stretch. And he was wrong. He was inaccurate throughout the course of the day. He missed some opportunities to make some big plays. This game did not have to be close if he hits on some of those plays. And you missed the final snap of the game in victory formation because you were taking selfies. So don't think you're just going to show up at the podium and have them ask you about such a great win. All right? Grow up. Speaking of which, let's get to that. The presser. Man, that shit was so off-putting to me. I got Robert Griffin III vibes from that presser, and it really, really made me upset because I can take losing. I can take growth while losing. I can take a lot of things. What I won't deal with again is having another self-absorbed, excuse-making chump as a quarterback like we did with Robert Griffin III. I won't do that again. I don't want to go through that again as a fan. All right. Me being a guy that I can't stand excuses. I tell my kids all the time, you know, we don't do excuses, not in this house. All right. And a wise man once told me excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got them. All right. Everybody's got one. I don't make excuses. If I do something wrong, I own up to it. Man up. And I'm not right all the time. But I told you, when I'm wrong, as I started off the show today telling y'all, I was wrong. I made a boo-boo. And I told you guys all the time, when I'm wrong, you'll know I'm wrong because I'll tell you I'm wrong. But when I'm right, God damn it, you're going to know I'm right. But I don't want to hear the excuses. So let's pick apart this presser. So Dwayne steps to the podium, and the just like Bill Callahan, the first few questions fired away at him was about him not being present for the victory formation, taking the knee. And I think he got caught off guard by that. I think he thought he was going to show up and this was going to be all about his connections with Terry McLaurin and that final drive and what was the excitement like winning your first NFL start and what was it like winning at home in front of the crowd and all. He thought that's what the presser was going to be about. Well, you sadly mistaken, brother. You sadly damn mistaken. So that first question, his response was, I thought the game was over. I was excited, broke a water. I was cool with all of that. Like look, he's giving some context. Hey, man, I was excited. And that's all he really had to say. That's all I was looking for was, look, I got caught up in the moment, man. I got caught up in the excitement. It was my first win. It was a come from behind win. It was a game winning drive. It was all of these things that I hadn't experienced as an NFL quarterback all at once. And my emotions got the best of me. And I wanted to celebrate this moment with the fans who continued to support us, even though we were 1-9. And that's all he had to say. That's all he had to say. And we would have ate it up and we would have moved on and he wouldn't have had to take another question about it. And then at the end of that, all he had to say was, it was an honest mistake on my part. It'll never happen again. I'm sick about it. But I'm not sick about the fact that I'm excited that we got to win. And that would have been it. No more questions. Everyone would have took that as a really solid answer, and he would have been done with that. Instead, he pretty much says, hey, I made a mistake. I'll get it next time. That's not good enough. We need you to know that shit is not acceptable. You can't be doing it. But then, okay, fine, whatever. You said you'll get it next time. Whatever, cool. You talked about being excited. You broke a water bottle. Okay, we're done with that. So then they ask him, hey, bro, hey, first of all, great win. All right, nice little come from behind and nice couple of drives at the end. Nice little scramble. That's all cute. Hey, what about all these damn misses you had today, though? What was good with that, man? Hey, Terry was wide open a lot today, and you missed him a lot today. Talk to us about some of those misses. Oh, I was hurt. Oh, come again? Excuse me? Oh, yeah, I hurt my wrist. Oh, you hurt your wrist. So we making excuses now. You finished the game, though. You was okay when you was smashing water bottles and taking selfies. That wrist ain't look that hurt when you was holding the phone taking that selfie, though. Oh, but the wrist is hurt, though. So that's why you were inaccurate. So we making excuses now. Bullshit-ass excuses. So the wrist. So then, when they follow up with him on the wrist, now he's like, nah, I'm good. Like, now you don't want to talk about the wrist. You know why? Because that was a bullshit-ass. Why you couldn't just say, hey, man, I want a couple of those back. I got to be more accurate with the football there. I got excited when I cut a couple of those loose. And me and Terry will get that right. Terry won for me all day long. And I missed him a couple of times. And trust me, we're going to hit those. We hit them at Ohio State. We're going to hit them here. I just got too excited. I had a lot of pent-up energy. I got to be better, and I got to hit those. That would have been it. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to make any kind of excuses. That shit sounded Robert Griffin III-esque. Like you don't want people challenging you. You don't want people talking about your mistakes and your faults. You got to be able to man up at the podium and tell them, yeah, that was me. I got to be better. So Look, that was cringeworthy. That presser was cringe-worthy. Okay? He got to clean that shit up. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you haven't heard it, go take a listen. I should have played it for you guys, but again, I didn't want to hear the shit again. So I didn't want to listen to it again because that one made me kind of upset. I'm not for the excuses, man. All right? Get it done. Just get it done. And if you don't get it done, just say, you know what? I'm going to get it done next time. And that's generally what he usually says. You know, don't come at me with the bullshit ass excuses though, man. I don't want to hear that shit. And then when they asked him about the selfie, was it during the game or after the game? Oh, it was after the game. No, bruh. We actually have the tape synced up with you taking a damn selfie and it still being about 8 seconds left on the damn clock. So don't tell us it was after the game. You might have taken more selfies after the game, but the one we're talking about in question, that shit was happening while the game was still on. Just say, hey, look, man, I messed up. It won't happen again. Instead of making a bunch of damn excuses and then trying to lie. Like we don't, this is not 1985. You can't lie to us. You can't lie to us. So I need him to grow up. I need him to grow the hell up. That being said, I thought he did some good things. I thought he missed way too much in this game. All right, now on to some other players, and then we'll get to in other news quickly. I thought Cole Holcomb was outstanding. When I went back and watched, he had himself a whale of a game. You know, I thought he was outstanding. Landon Collins had another strong performance. Really like what he's doing. I thought Jonathan Allen flashed in this particular game. Thought he did some really good things. He forced a fumble. He had the sack. I saw a couple of plays where he was actually very active, blowing some things up. So I thought Jonathan Allen had one of his better performances of recent note. Matt Ioannidis, in his usual form, had a half a sack in there. He was around the football quite a bit. So I thought the defensive line in general was pretty damn good. Ryan Kerrigan did sustain a concussion. Don't know what that means for his status. Remember, Kerrigan's never missed an NFL game in his career. And so this could be a first. We'll see what happens. He doesn't get hurt very often. When he does, he plays through it. But this is a concussion. This is different. He did not finish the game. So that's something to keep an eye on as we get through the week heading into the Carolina game in week 13. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I thought Ryan Anderson did some solid things in this game. Sweat with a deflection and a sack, forced fumble. Again, wasn't blocked on the play. I don't care. Get to the quarterback, make a play. He did that. So it was really encouraging to see some of the plays. I thought John Bostic, and I said this yesterday, had a strong game as well. And then obviously Moreau and Dunny were strong in the secondary, along with Jimmy Moreland, even though he dropped a big-time pick. Moreland, I thought, was strong in this game as well. So good to see the young fellas making plays. I thought defensively, collectively as a group, they were better. Did have one defensive breakdown. Look, let's not act like the defense was out of this world. Look, 6 sacks and 4 turnovers forced is excellent. But it was still Detroit. It was still Jeff Driscoll. Take it with a grain of salt. Marvin Jones was still running behind our defense. If that ball's on the money, that's a touchdown. Instead, he dives and he just misses it. Similar to the Kelvin Harmon play. Close, but no cigar. That could have easily been a 57-yard touchdown pass. And we would be saying the same shit we say every week. God damn it, this secondary keeps giving up big plays. And now you wouldn't have had Josh Norman to blame for it. Okay? So let's not act like this defense still wasn't in a position to give shit up. They just did a better job of damage control in this game. Making plays when plays were there to be made with the interceptions and the forced fumble and holding the Lions to field goals. Again, the Lions ran it down our throats. Look, Bo Scarborough almost had 100 yards rushing. 18 carries, 98 yards. That is not good. Okay? That's damn near 6 a pop. Okay? So they ran it down our throats, and Jeff Driscoll was a part of the run game. They probably had every bit of 150 yards rushing in this football game. If you combine both Scarborough and Maryland running back that they had, and I think he got a couple of carries, and then Jeff Driscoll's rushing numbers, they probably eclipsed $150 on us in this game rushing. So it was not a great performance from that standpoint, but when they needed to get stops, they got stops and forced them to kick field goals. They forced turnovers. They bent. They never broke in this game. And to their credit, they gave us a chance to win. So that was impressive. On the offensive side, like I said yesterday, I'm a Harmon guy. I've said that from the jump. I told you I felt like we got a steal when we got him in the 6th round. He's showing flashes of why I thought he should have been drafted a lot sooner in the NFL draft. Feel really good about him. You know how I feel about McLaurin. Haskins, I think, continues to show us that he has the ability to get it done in this level. He did not blink on those final 2 possessions. He may have not made all the throws, or he may not have been as accurate as we would have liked him to, but he made plays, whether it be with his legs or with his arm. He made plays on those final 2 possessions to not only tie the game, but to help us win the game. And so in the biggest moments of the game, he came up big. All right, so you can't discount that. So he's shown us flashes. I like what I've seen out of Geis. It was in a very limited capacity yesterday, but Geis shows us that he's tough, he's physical, he gets what's there, and then some. Really like him a lot. So the young nucleus offensively, I think, is here. All right, I think it's here. Now we got to add to that. Add another receiver. All right, add 2 tight ends. I think we got to add 2 of those guys, whether one being free agency and one in the draft, or 2 in the draft, whatever the case may be. We got to add to that position big time because we don't have anything at tight end right now. And I think you could tell the offense is missing a threat at the tight end position. But obviously, this offense has the building blocks of what I think could make it an explosive and dynamic offense moving forward. So that was fun to see as well. Let's get to in other news. And Bill Callahan stepped to the podium today, day after presser. And a lot of good nuggets here. So heading into the game, there was a report by Mitch Tisler and a few others about the Redskins, about Bill Callahan calling a meeting yesterday or Saturday, the day before the game, and ripping into the players. JP Finley talked about it and before the game started about how Callahan ripped into the players about having a sense of urgency, starting the game much faster, and it seemed to pay a little bit of dividends because there was a sense of urgency. You get the big Sims return. Now, you do get a fumble right afterwards by Dwayne on the 3rd down. I didn't like the play calling on that first possession, but the defense was able to get a stop, and it would have been nice because when the football was turned over, they weren't in field goal range. Would have been nice if they could have held them to a punt, but they didn't do that. They did keep them out of the end zone, however, and in past weeks, that would have been a touchdown. So credit to them for holding them to a field goal, and then you get the long drive and the miss by Haskins to McLaurin. That would have been a touchdown, but again, there was a sense of urgency. There was a different temperament for this team starting the game. So mission accomplished there. He talked about that, and there was a report that some of the players loved it, like a Jonathan Allen. You would expect him to love it. Jonathan Allen came from a program where it was no nonsense. His dad is a military guy. He was no nonsense. So Jonathan Allen, he really, really wants more structure. He wants a hard ass as a head coach because he wants guys to do their job. He's like, look, you don't have to worry about me doing my job. I'm going to do my job. It's the other guys that I worry about. And if we got a hard ass coach, he's going to make sure that everybody else does their job because I know I'm going to do mine. And so Jonathan Allen loved it. But there were some other players that didn't particularly care for Callahan ripping into them the day before a game at 1-9. And so he addressed that too. And he said, look, this league, it's a tough league. You got to be able to take this kind of stuff. But we got to be able to respond with a sense of urgency. I didn't feel like we did that versus the Jets. And so I wanted them to know. And Callahan's not dumb. He knows this is one of the few remaining games on the schedule that we actually have a realistic chance to win. Like, you can't squander these opportunities if you want to win some games. And so he got into their ass, and it seemed like it worked. So good for him on that. He talked about time management, the clock management at the end of the game. He's like, look, that was on me. That was a mistake on my part. He was like, yeah, we probably, in so many words, he said we should have bled it more. We definitely kicked it a little bit prematurely. I called that last time out way too soon. But, it happened. And it is what it is. He's like, it won't happen again. And he got caught up in the moment is what happened. He got caught up in the moment of being excited about, the big completion to McLaurin. And he just got caught up in the moment, just like everybody else did. As a coach, you can't get caught up in the moment. I'm sorry. That's just not, the players can get caught up in the moment. You as a coach have to stay even keel at all times. You've got to, your assistants can get caught up in the moment. They can be chest bumping and high-fiving and all. You got to stay in the moment, okay? You got to understand time, down, distance, and situational football. And calling your final timeout in that particular instance with 20 seconds, not the thing to do. So he addressed that. He said, look, that's not going to happen again. That's on my watch. That's something that can't happen. So he owned up to that. I love that. Good. Glad you understand that. And now we move on. He talked about the young guys in the game. He talked about McLaurin. He talked about Harmon. He talked about Cole Holcomb and all these guys playing really well. He talked, hey, how about him talking? Somebody finally asked a damn question 10 weeks after I posed it. Hey, how about Steven Sims on punts? Took the man running a kick return for a touchdown for someone, and you could tell this idea never crossed his damn mind. Unbelievable that it never dawned on anybody in that building to say, hey, how about Steven Sims on punts? Like, you could tell that this, like, it was like an epiphany when they asked him that. He was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, yeah, maybe we should do that. Like, dude, you haven't thought about that all season long? You guys didn't think about that in the preseason? When he was returning punts and kickoffs and being electrifying then? It took him to run a kick. The man already ran a kickback for a touchdown versus the Giants in week 4. It took you all the way to week 12 to realize that, yeah, maybe he should be back on punts. Well, goddamn. I tell you, man, I don't know sometimes. But he did say, yeah, we're gonna try that. Well, you don't say. You don't say. Anyway, that was good to know. And he talked about Steven Sims getting more opportunities on offense and this, that, and the third. Well, let's get him some targets then. How about that? Don't talk to me about him getting man-to-man situations and more looks and more snaps. Let's talk about him getting the ball more, all right? And I'm not talking about just on jet sweeps. And they did try a gadget play with him throwing a pass. It didn't work. At least he threw it out of bounds. But that's nor here nor there. Talked about Harmon and his production and his growth. He talked about McLaurin and his production and his growth, continuous growth in his offense and him being a playmaker. He talked about Cole Holcomb and how he was all over the field. And talked about a number of things. You know, this was one of the realest day after pressers we've gotten from Bill Callahan, I think, since he's become the Redskins interim head coach. And I thought he actually had a solid presser. There was a lot of good things that were said in that presser. And also, I found out about this today, that the Redskins have had issues with guys showing up late to the game. So they set, when I say late, there's a cutoff time that they want players in the facility by on game day. 11 o'clock is that time. Anybody that comes after 11, and there should be disciplinary actions and measures taken. So I found out today that the Redskins had a meeting, and it was one of their staff members that ripped into the players about being on time to the game. I mean, when you're 1-9, these are the type of issues you have. All right. And when your culture is damn good, or so you think, these are the type of issues you have. So apparently, the reason why people were making a big deal out of Dwayne Haskins showing up a quarter to 11 is because after having that kind of meeting and having, you know, a team official ripping into you because of guys showing up late, you'd think that the guy that told us at the presser, post-practice presser a week ago, that me getting in the weight room and being the first in, last to leave, me being at the facility first in, last to leave, or in the film room, and guys seeing me and that being an example as you know, the leadership that I need to be able to get these guys to trust me, you'd think that guy would want to show up. Now, again, I don't know what he's got going on at home. I don't know what situations come up. Life happens. I'm not here to point fingers. He got here before 11, whatever. But I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Him showing up at 10:45, not a good look. But that's nor here nor there. Another thing that he talked about was, if you noticed, Jerron Christian Sr. started the game. I don't know if you guys realize that. He started the game at left tackle. And I thought that was another one of these, hey, let the young boys play initiatives. So I was cool with it. I was like, hey, let's see what Jerron has. Remember, I made that suggestion last week on the RNN that, hey, let's start seeing the young boys play. You know what I mean? Like, we're 1-9. Let's see the young boys play. And Jerron Christian is a part of that movement for me. You know, we got to find out if this guy can play or not. And so I found out, or at the presser, Bill Callahan said, hey, look, that was disciplinary action. You know, Donald Penn had an issue. We resolved it. But his punishment was that he wasn't going to start the game. And he didn't. and Jerron Christian did. And then Donald Penn was back out there, and that was the end of Jerron Christian being in the game. So I thought we were going to see more Jerron Christian. We didn't, but that was why he started the game off. So there's that. But all in all, it was a great presser by Bill Callahan. I learned a lot from him, and that's not typically the case. There were some really good questions posed to him, and I thought he knocked them down one by one in a really good manner. So good for him. But Redskins are now 2-9. You got to start taking all this stuff kind of in now. The Dolphins have 2 wins. The Redskins, the Dolphins, and there's one more team that has 2 wins as well. I'm forgetting one. Yikes. Who is that final 2-win team? Well, the Falcons have 3 wins. The Lions have 3 wins. The Giants have 3 wins. The Jets got hot all of a sudden, so now they've got 4 wins. So they're out of the mix. And they beat us, so we don't have to worry about the Jets. Because we're not getting to 4, I don't think. And even if we do, they got the tiebreaker over us because they beat us head-to-head. Anyway, or we have the tiebreaker because they beat us head-to-head. Anyway, can't think of that final 2-win team. I'm trying to go through all the divisions in my head. I don't think it's just us and the Dolphins, though. It's got to be one more team somewhere in there that stinks. AFC South, no one has 2 wins. AFC North, Cincinnati has no wins. That's it. The Browns have gotten hot, so nobody else in that division stinks. AFC West, the Broncos, I think they have 3 wins, if I'm not mistaken. They're another team we got to look out for. I think they're going to win. With their defense, they're going to win at least one more game. But that's another team to keep in the back of your mind, Broncos. But nobody else in that division stinks. AFC East, it's the Jets. They got hot. They got 4 wins now. And the Dolphins, they got 2 wins. NFC East, we stink. We got 2 wins. The Giants stink. They got 3 wins. So that's where we are there. NFC South, Falcons lost, but they won 2 in a row before that. So now they have 3 wins, but yesterday might have been a wake-up call for them. We'll see how many more games they win. I think they're going to win at least one more game, so I feel good about them. But nobody else in that division stinks. So then you go to the NFC West. That entire division is good. Even the worst team in that division, Arizona, isn't half bad. So that's a solid division. And then you get to the AFC or NFC. I got the North. And Chicago was the bottom feeder there, or Detroit is the bottom feeder there. We just saw them. They're a 3-win team. They'll win at least one more game, I think. But Chicago won against the Giants, so that was bad, beating bad. So that's a good thing there. We're fine. So right now it seems like, I guess, the Dolphins and the Redskins are the only 2-win teams right now. Dolphins have the Bengals. That's another opportunity for a win. I just want the number 2 pick, honestly speaking. If we don't get it, I'm fine with whatever we end up with. I think I'm talking myself into knowing we're going to get a good football player. Whether it's a receiver or it's an offensive lineman or it's a defensive lineman, I think we're going to get a good football player. But how about getting an elite player like Chase Young, though? That'd be awesome. But anyway, we're going to do Redskins Nightly News social media maneuvers tomorrow. I'm just going to tease this. Tomorrow, we're going to have 2 shows, one Redskins Nightly News and an hour-long open forum where you guys have the floor. You can call in. I'll open up the phone lines for you guys. And that might be our last show of the week. I may be able to sneak in a Wednesday episode. We'll see. There are no guarantees, however. But we will do that tomorrow. And on the Redskins Nightly News, I'm going to take to social media because there are some of you that I feel like are borderline delusional when it comes to Dwayne Haskins. And some of you have Ashburn syndrome, where you're starting to rationalize things that you shouldn't be rationalizing for Dwayne Haskins. Like, you should be setting a level of expectation for him. It's okay to set the bar high and ask him to hit it. I'm not asking for him to hit it overnight, but there should be a level of expectation where you're not giving out free passes. And some of you are overlooking some of these things and acting as if we should just go straight to all positives, no negatives. It's not how this works. So we're going to attack some of that on social media maneuvers tomorrow, as well as some of your comments from today's show, if there are any that I deem pertinent. So make sure you continue to comment. I appreciate all of them. Like the video, subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Share this video and check out the podcast, Louie T Network podcast as well. Also, turn on your notification bell so you don't miss any of these videos, including the ones tomorrow, like the open forum where you'll have a chance to call in. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, we got skin in the game. Why? Because we're Skins fans for life. You guys continue to support the movement, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. This has been the Redskins Nightly News. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or maybe tonight for Monday Night Football. We'll see. Either way, you guys have a good one. Take care.
Louie.